freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 481 of Gun Freedom Radio, where we engage, we educate, and we inform. We are brought to you by azfirearmsauctions.com, where you set the price on guns, ammo, and accessories. I am one of your hosts, Cheryl Todd.
And I'm the other guy, Dan Todd. I'm excited about today's theme. It's the future of freedom, and our guest is Ocean Rasso. Ocean is a dynamic 14-year-old voice in the fight for liberty and conservative values. At just 14 years old, his passionate advocate has already made waves as a speaker and champion of freedom, faith, and community involvement. Ocean inspires others to engage in local governance and stands firm in their beliefs.
Welcome to the show, Ocean.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So you and I met each other through another one of our guests, Shane Krauser. And, he just champions you every opportunity he gets, but you bring it. And so I just absolutely admire that at such a young age. And I hate to keep kind of hammering that you're so young, you're so young. But it is impactful to think that someone in your generation is all, you get it at a level that people, we're grandparents, people our age aren't even getting it. So really, what has inspired you to become such a passionate advocate for freedom and liberty? And what has, including your faith, what has shaped your mission?
Well, first of all, I'm so grateful that Shane has been mentoring me and helping me through this process of getting my voice out there and starting to speak and engage the next generation. Now, what really started me off was the 2020 election. And I remember very vividly, I was sitting at our old house in the living room on the couch, and on the screen, the TV was the results coming in. And now I previously bought this little book that had a pull-out map and that I would write on, draw on the different colors of the states as they were called. And I went to bed confident in what I had put on that map. They had called these certain states. Yet I wake up the next morning and all of a sudden they're all changed and different. And at that moment, I knew this is what I want to do. I want to get involved in this political arena. I want to voice my opinion, and I want to start changing the way people view things. Not a lot of people know how our election system works. Not a lot of people understand what freedom is or how important it is. And so that kickstarted my mission into educating other people, not just people my age, but anyone I can give my voice to. Another thing that really helped me start was I was at class one day, and I'm with this group, and we like to debate all sorts of things, religion, literature. And one day I start talking about politics. And they go, "Oh, Ocean, you're too young for that. You shouldn't be involved in politics. Isn't that boring?" And I said, "Well, if we don't start fighting for what we believe in now, you won't have anything to fight for in the future." And so this is really what has given way to my mission, preserving freedom for the next generation.
Wow, I can't believe that. So was it fellow students that were actually dissuading you, or was it like a teacher who was kind of poo-pooing your
No,
involvement?
my teachers have all been wonderful. They encourage me in what I do, but I feel a real lack of excitement or an engagement with the next generation, specifically when it comes to civics and when it comes to political action.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that, Ocean? Why do you think the kids of your age don't want to get involved in politics?
Oh, well, the reason is twofold. First is our current public education system, and second would be apathy, which I'll
Mm,
get into a little later. First, I am homeschooled and I belong to a homeschool group. And so that made it even more odd to me that this was coming from homeschooled kids.
hmm
But our education system tends to dissuade young people from really understanding what freedom is. They'd rather teach lesbian dance theory than the true values of freedom and our founding, and what our founding fathers fought for. Um, so the second part is apathy. I think that this next generation hasn't been really taught how lucky they are to be born in America. They won the lottery, or how they should be grateful for all the work that our founders went through to preserve, to build up our nation and to make sure that it would be able to be preserved for posterity. And so it's about time that we go out and start engaging young people and start to show them this is why we want to teach this to you. So you can preserve freedom yourself. Because
hmm
once we lose it, we can never regain freedom.
Right.
Gosh, it's
We've
so
lost so
true.
much freedom already,
Mhm.
Yes.
you know.
Well, what's interesting to me is, so our daughter was in high school during the time that the election, the first election came up that Barack Obama was the candidate, and my daughter's schoolmates were very animated and very involved in wanting to, support that particular candidate. But then when we asked them why, right? When my daughter, because that's always been our rule with our daughter. You can believe anything you want to, but you need to be able to, if you want my respect and your dad's respect, you need to be able to articulate your why. And so when she would quiz her classmates, why? It was never policy based. It was never historically based. It was never, this is the best person to run the most powerful nation on the planet. It was that he was cool. It was about the color of his skin. And he was young looking,
Yes.
right? And I'm thinking, okay, you know, so they went from being engaged uh, for, I think, very superficial reasons to now you're saying your experience was, that's boring. Who wants to deal with that? So what an interesting trajectory that we've experienced. What do you say about that to people who might, want to quiz you about, well, why would you support this candidate and not that candidate? Maybe they're both from the same party, but how do you drill down for yourself and then maybe to explain your why to others?
Well, first of all, I see exactly what you mentioned with when Barack Obama ran, with what happened with Clinton, with Hillary, and with Kamala. A lot of people, when I'd ask, why are you supporting this specific candidate, would say, oh, because she's a woman. Well, what is her greatest accomplishment, specifically with Harris? Oh, well, she was the first Black woman vice president. That's not really an accomplishment. Give me some actual policy. Where's the merit here? We've gone from merit politics to more DEI politics, and that's a problem. Where we have people voting for specific candidates. Oh, because they look nice. Oh, because I like the way they smile. They talk to me really nicely. No, what is the specific policy that you can point to? And whenever I support a candidate, I always make sure that I know their track record, that I know their history, and that I know other people who have endorsed and supported them. And whenever I explain to people, because I door knock for candidates, I go out and have people sign petitions for them. I get that question a lot. Why are you supporting this specific candidate? And I always say it's because of a track record. It's because I either know them or because I have seen them in the past and what they have done, or because of legislation. And that's what we need to start being based off of, not the color of the skin or what their gender is or how they look like.
Absolutely. And, we're sitting in the studio and May 13th, 2025. I always try to orient my audience because these do live forever on the internet. And so if somebody's watching this a few years from now, I want them to understand where we are in history. So in Arizona, we have a very consequential gubernatorial race coming up, that governor's race. And we have a couple candidates that have come out early. President Trump has actually endorsed both of the Republican major front runners, Karen Taylor Robeson and Andy Biggs. And that's an unusual move in itself. And you have personally said, you know what? I think the person for the job is Andy Biggs. And
Yes.
I think a lot of people might go, well, he's 14. What does he know? Right.
Well, tell us what you know.
And so that's what
Yeah.
I want to ask you. What do you know? And what would it matter that you're 14 or 92?
Well, I don't live in the fantasy that my endorsement carries any merit. I just go with the person and I say, this is who I want to support.
Hmm.
And to me, it's really about just getting the involvement for that candidate. Because when I go and say, this is the candidate I'm supporting, I try to bring along people in my generation to also support them. There's a lot of candidates who are running for governor right now. But to me, Andy Biggs is really the only one who has a track record.
Hmm.
No other candidate has previously served in office, and there's not a lot that we really know about the candidates besides Karen Taylor Robeson. Now, I do think it's a little unusual that Trump endorsed this early. I might have wished that he had waited a little until perhaps the general. But we've already gone through this. I live in Congressional District 8, and we had him a dual endorsement with Blake Masters and Abe Hamadeh. And so I've gone through this before, and it's a little difficult for people to then decide because nowadays endorsements carry a lot of merit and weight, especially when a president and presidential candidate makes an endorsement. And a lot of people are going to vote for that person just based upon that. And so I was really excited when Trump announced he was endorsing Biggs. I've always been a big supporter since day one, and I know confidently that he's the man for the job.
Well, I do appreciate so much that, this isn't an emotional decision. This isn't, well, he's my friend or, that sort of thing. That you do come at it with a very thoughtful and logical, progression of ideas to get to, who and why you would support. And, you don't know what your endorsement might mean to the next person. Just the very fact that, you are who you are and you speak to the audiences you do, I would never sell that short. Now, there's a tricky thing with, speaking publicly about why I like this candidate over that candidate, especially before the primary, because what if the other candidate went, you
Yeah.
know? But if they are a true constitutionalist, then they're gonna serve you, right? They're gonna represent you, even if you thought that their um, their competitor maybe had a longer resume or a more qualified
Yes.
resume, right?
Well, when I first met Andy Biggs, something struck me different than any other politician I've ever met. He stopped and he gave me his direct attention and focus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And ever since I've talked to him, he's always been that way. And I think that carries along to the way he conducts himself in Congress or at the state level, both the federal and state level, was he pays attention to the people. And
Mm-hmm.
he's going to focus on Arizona values and American values as governor. Now, there
Mm-hmm.
are five key reasons why I believe he will be a great governor. The first of which is immigration and border security. We hear a lot that Arizona is a border state, and during the Biden-Harris administration, every state became a border state. But now Arizona has a problem with fentanyl. We have a problem with the amount of illegal aliens crossing our border, and we do have a rising problem with crime. And Andy Biggs has proven again and again, as he served in Congress, to be a true fighter for what is right, for logic. A country cannot exist without a border. You cease to be a nation when you have an open border.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's the idea that we could just let everyone in is preposterous. We can't house all the world's criminals. And Andy Biggs is a man with common sense and logic. He understands, we have to have a certain level of reasoning and logic when we handle this idea of a border. Now, I do like HR 3242, which I always have a fact sheet with me. And so I'm just going to read a little bit off of it. It is providing additional criminal penalties for aliens who are unlawfully present in America and are convicted of crimes. This alone is a key reason why I will support Andy Biggs for governor. Now, another reason why I will is the idea of limited government and limited and good fiscal responsibility. Now, a government is good. It is meant to govern and protect our rights. But when it starts growing big and monstrous and tyrannical, that becomes a problem. And I have known Andy Biggs for since 2024 when I met him at a Trump rally. And I've seen every time that I see him speak, he notes about how important the Constitution is, how important a limited government is, how important fiscal responsibility is. I mean, he was on Newsmax the other day talking about how if we can cut $400 billion in student loans or $325 billion to the Green New Deal. It can save over $1 trillion if we allow these processes of cutting to happen. And I think he can do the same thing at the state level as he is doing at the federal level. I also enjoy his constitutionality and his pro-life stance. You know, he has a 0% rating with Planned Parenthood. That's all we need to hear. We know that he is pro-life 100%. And lastly is his stance on election integrity. He has been outspoken with election integrity and has made sure to point out how we have failed the people when it comes to that specific area.
Mm. You know, that's interesting when our lane here is the Second Amendment, right? It's gun rights,
Yes.
and Andy Biggs has always been solid on our right to keep and bear arms. Here in Arizona, our state constitution, it's Article 2, Section 26, right? And instead of saying shall not be infringed, it says shall not be impaired, which is even stronger language.
Yes.
And Andy Biggs has always been, he has adhered to that without exception.
He
And
has.
so, yeah, and so I definitely applaud that, and I believe he's the only candidate out there right now that really could say that. But going back to the Planned Parenthood comment, there's a push out there to defund Planned Parenthood, and when people their hair catches on fire, I'm thinking nobody said that you have to, it has to fold up and go away. We're just saying as taxpayers, we don't want to pay for it. If it is
Yes.
such an amazing idea, then find private funding. There are plenty of, nonprofits out there that operate on private funding. And that's really all we're saying. But people will lose their minds hearing what you didn't say. And so I think that as articulate as you are, that is really going to go a long way when you are on these debate stages and when you are instructing others in even just casual conversation. You can instruct others, right?
Yes.
I think that is really going to be impactful in multitudes of ways moving forward, because I mean, again, because you are starting this kind of a journey so young in your life, you're going to touch millions upon millions of people just by the nature of living in a digital world, right? And
Yes.
being someone who is not afraid to speak up. So I applaud all of that.
Thank you. Well, I do agree with you that we shouldn't be funding Planned Parenthood through taxpayer dollars. The government shouldn't pick winners and losers. I want my taxpayer dollars to go towards funding roads, towards important things, not this nonsensical stuff that our government was spending money on until, of course, Trump came and started cutting all that, which I definitely applaud him for doing that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Doge has been such an eye opener,
Right.
right?
So
Yes.
Ocean, I mean, I've heard you speak several times and you do a great job, but I think what's wrong with our system right now is that the younger generation is not getting active with it. Are you speaking to the younger generation too? Have you been going to events that have kids that are, 15 to 25-year-old? What are you doing to help with that?
So right now, my main focus is going to Republican and conservative groups and really targeting just regular adults to tell them start engaging with the youth. Now, I'm also speaking to people of my generation. I do a class with Shane Krauser, Veritas Debate Academy, and I've had the honor of speaking to students there a couple of times. I engage with them. I'm a student there myself. And it's incredible to see these young people it gives me hope because I see these young people who are my age who on the first day don't even want to get up in front of the class and say their name. And by the end, they're debating whether flag burning should be constitutional or not. They're debating the idea of Doge. They're debating whether what Trump is doing is constitutional or not. It's a beautiful thing. And so the younger generation has it in them. They have the ability to go out and speak and to understand these values. It
Mm-hmm.
just needs to be unlocked. And so, yeah, I find it important to speak to my generation, to talk to them and to engage them, saying, I'm your age.
Mm-hmm.
If I can do it, you can do it. I'm leading by, that's my mission is to lead by example.
Right.
Well, our granddaughter is about to turn 11, and because we all live in Arizona, and that is where the Veritas Debate Academy is based, we are going to sign her up, or she is signed up for the 3-day event. And I have to say that watching you in action at multiple different events is one of the things that made me feel like I want that for her, that level of confidence, that level of, I'm speaking from a place of knowledge that I've earned, right? Not just somebody's fed me a bunch of talking points to spit
Yeah.
out like a little parrot. And so we are super excited to watch her journey going through this. But truly, it was, you were the proof of the pudding that
Right.
made us go, yes, we want that for her.
Because when we were in school, we weren't encouraged for political stuff, and it's like what a mistake that was, because
Yes.
I'm a generation that is messing up right now, and so we need that. And thinking about the parents, getting the parents involved with their kids, that is so important, and so many aren't.
Mm-hmm.
And so waking them up to, hey, your kids are your future, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yes.
we've got to get them involved. So
So let me ask you this. I mean, I have been in these rooms when you have shared the stage with Andy Biggs, right? And some, huge names in politics, and in public policy. Um, so I have seen how you do what you do. You get lots of applause and encouragement. People want to meet your parents and, applaud them for their efforts and to support you. But I do want to ask you, what has been a downside, or what has been a time when, somebody, rather than, singing your accolades, maybe was like, I don't know about this guy. I'm not sure what his deal is, but, can you share something along those lines with us?
Oh, well, I've been called all sorts of things now. It's my awards list. I have a list of all it's like, oh, thank you. But yes, I have been called all sorts of things for supporting all sorts of people. And after a certain amount of time, I just tune it out.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that I'm not going to get 100% applause every time I go out and speak, or that every post I'm going to get is going to get some dislike. I understand that, and I welcome it. We live in a nation where you have the freedom to disagree with me, and I will debate you. I will love to debate you. And that's one of the things that I accept and that I understand that everything that I say is going to get 50-50. I can't please everybody. But I must say have been some times when I've gotten up and spoke, and afterwards I have someone come up to me and say, you know what, that just didn't sound right. Or, I don't agree with you about what you said. And I have a friendly conversation with them. I
Mm-hmm.
explain to them, I so much of my family, on my dad's side, they live in California and they
Mm.
are Hispanic, and they believe that, we're Hispanic plus we live in California equals we're Democrat. And I've had conversations with them all the time about Trump, about freedom, about what I do. And I've debated many of them. And some of them have been persuaded over to the freedom loving conservative side. And so you have the ability to persuade people with what you say. It's just how you word it and how you speak to them.
That's great. And that you don't just immediately accept defeat,
Yes.
um, which I think so often happens to people. But if they are in things like a debate academy, like Veritas Debate Academy, where it's sort of like learning jujitsu or something where you've got to have an opponent, you've got to have that pushback in order to strengthen yourself and in order to, really hone your skills. So I think that is super important. But, that idea of, oh, you know, somebody said something negative about me online or, didn't applaud my latest effort. And so therefore I'm defeated and I'm going to give up. That goes right back into that apathy
Yes.
thing, that apathetic mindset. And I truly think that that is our biggest enemy. It is not the people who are on the other side of the political aisle, because all they got to do is set their watch and wait, and a lot
Yes.
of us are going to age out, right? So what do you do to help people move past that terrible place where it's just like, oh, it's somebody else's problem to deal with, or I'm in Arizona, so I'm safe, right? So, I voted sometime in my life, so I've done my part. What do you say to people
Yes.
that are of that mindset?
I would say, do you want to see the next generation prosper? Do you
Mm,
want to see freedom saved? You
mm,
know, there, I always like to say, when I have died, when my children and grandchildren see my picture on the mantelpiece, what are they going to think of me? Are they going to think, wow, he stood up and fought for what was right? I have freedom because Ocean stood up and, fought for what he believed in. Or are they going to say, oh, he sat on the sidelines. He didn't
mm.
care. It's about the next generation. It's not about me. It's about saving our country, saving the people, having them grow in understanding when it comes to this specific area. Freedom, liberty, justice, rights. You could say all you want about that, but it doesn't carry any merit unless you actually understand what it is, what it means to be free.
Absolutely. Well said. So, I mean, we've talked a lot about it a lot, but like if you could really dial it into a thing, like can it be in pill form, right? Like can we make this into a pill form thing that we can give to other people? How can younger generations be encouraged to embrace this fight for liberty and take an active role in their own families, their own neighborhoods, their own communities?
Well, before they do that, we have to engage them. And so
Mm,
that every time I go out, I ask them the three questions, which is something that Shane has taught to me. Do you want to be free? Do you want to be left alone? Basically, be free. Do you want the government to follow the rules? And do you want to keep what you earn?
mm.
And I have talked to so many people and asked them this very simple question. I've talked to liberals and conservatives and libertarians and independents. And I always find that they say yes to all those questions. Everybody wants to be left alone.
Mm.
You can live your life the best. The government shouldn't be choosing what you do, and the government shouldn't be choosing winners or losers. Now, you also can keep what you can keep what you earn. So you work hard, you earned it, you get to keep it. The government doesn't, that's communism when the government takes everything that you have worked for and divides it up and splits it out. And also, the idea that you have the ability to live your life best, keep what you earn, and
I
oh
think the
man, I'm
leave
blanking
me
out last.
alone, that's
This
okay. The
leave me.
leave me alone principle, I think, is one that really resonates so strongly with people. It's like, get the
Yes,
government out of my personal skin, right?
yes, and we see so much of the government infringing upon our lives every day today. We have so many regulations. They regulate our toilet bowl sizes. They regulate what food can come in. They even teach our children. What is the government not in control of today? It's time that we start dialing back this power and overbearing that the government has nowadays.
Well, the government and our teachers and our school systems are teaching kids that communism is good,
Mm.
that it's good to share. It's selfish to be a capitalist. So you've got a battle ahead of you. But I think the one thing that I see a lot of the people on the other side will not have a conversation with you. They will tell you something, but they won't have a conversation. They will
Mm.
tell you their side, but they won't listen to your side. And I see you actually can talk to people and kind of get them to at least understand. And I like asking questions of why do you want to vote for this person? Things like that.
Yes.
So you're on the right track. But I see a lot of the older people that are set with their ways, they won't hear, they won't listen. And I want to listen too. I listen to both sides. I don't agree with the other side, but I listen to them because maybe I've got something wrong. Maybe I missed something. So anyway,
Well, and I want to say that, the whole leave me alone principle, it's, all the Republican side, I'm saying our side, but this show is nonpartisan, right? We're trying to reach people in the
Yeah.
undecided space, the independent minded space. But there are Republicans who have actually tripped over that stone. I mean, the Patriot Act itself came in under Bush Jr., right? Um, so W, as they say, right? And so that is definitely not a leave me alone policy. That is very much a getting into our personal lives and communications policy. So instead of people always going R versus D, right?
Yes.
We really need to bring people to the table and support candidates moving forward who are grounded in the Constitution, which is written for everyone. What do you say about
Yes.
that?
Well, I always like to say, I don't care whether you have an R or a D before your name, unless you first understand the Constitution. I have met so many Republican candidates. Exactly. Look at, I carry this wherever I go. I have met so many Republican candidates and elected officials who don't understand the Constitution, who don't really care. I've met so many Democrat candidates and politicians who also don't understand the Constitution, and they don't really care. We have to get back to understanding what our principles and our founding is. We were created with these principles. We are built with these principles. They are hopefully still guiding us.
Mm.
We need to understand them then. We can't continue as a nation that doesn't understand what freedom is or how important it is, or that we're founded on these Judeo-Christian principles of freedom.
Absolutely. Well said. And, every politician, no matter what big letter they have blazoned on their chest, right, takes an oath. Like all the way
Yes,
down school board members, like if you are elected, you take an oath to protect and preserve this document. That look how skinny that is. That takes all of 2 hours max out of your life to read.
yes.
And how many of us citizens have read it? How many people who are taking an oath to it have read it? And the answer is not enough of us. So I love that we're twinning up here with our the same cover and everything of
I
our
know.
link.
Oh yes, 100%. I always make sure to have a copy with me just in case I get to engage someone on these principles.
That's fantastic. Well, I appreciate you so much. I appreciate your parents, your entire family, because I know that with all the speaking you do, that is a whole family effort. It takes a lot of time to travel to the different stages that you're on, that sort of thing. But I really appreciate your voice out there. And I hope that I will bump into you at the Veritas Debate Academy this summer when our granddaughter is out there. But tell folks how they can follow all the work that you're doing. Do you have websites? Do you have social media pages?
So right now, I just started doing this just in January, but I have officially launched my X, which is formerly Twitter, page, and you can find me at Ocean Rasso. And I also just launched my YouTube page. That's also at Ocean Rasso. There's nothing uploaded there just yet, but we're hoping to get some content out pretty soon.
Maybe this. Maybe
Yes,
just stick
definitely.
this up there. Fantastic. Well, thank you again so much. We appreciate you. Keep doing the good work and God bless.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
thanks, Ocean.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ocean Rasso.
Man, if we just had the kids, I mean, when I was that age, if we'd had
Yeah,
all the kids involved in that, where would we be today?
it's
We have
so
lost so
true.
many rights.
It's so true. Thrown them away.
Yeah, and you mentioned Republicans like Reagan took away our machine gun, well,
Hmm.
the evil machine gun rights.
Hmm.
He put a lot of restrictions on that.
Hmm.
So these good presidents that have been, they say they're constitutionalists, have still done some terrible things to our Constitution.
It's so true. And when we sit as citizens and we just, you know, our bobblehead dolls of nodding in
Yeah.
agreement without engaging our brains, without understanding what our founding documents have set in place for us, without understanding what laws already exist,
Right.
right? It's just too easy to just keep piling on more and more and more laws, which is just a bigger and bigger boot of the government
Right.
on our necks. We really need to stop being quite so partisan, I guess. And just kind of turning our brains off and saying, "Oh, well, it's a Republican candidate or it's a Democratic candidate, so therefore, I check the box." No, understand what that person's ultimate goals are. Do they want to be a public servant, or are they padding their own resume and
Right.
I mean, pocketbook. Look at some people that go into politics and just sit there and cha-ching their way through, just loading up their personal wealth. That is not what uh, public office is meant for, but
Right.
too many people use it that way.
Yes.
And, if it is somebody that you voted for, you have to not be so tribal that you don't call them out for that and that you don't seek their next competitor at the polling booth, and push those competitors forward that are ever, ever, ever more connected with our founding documents.
Right.
That is what's really going to change this nation.
Make
So,
sure they follow the Constitution, and if they're not, then vote them out and
absolutely.
let them know why.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again to our amazing guest, Ocean Rasso. What a firebrand. I'm so privileged and honored to know him and his family. Thank you to our amazing
Yeah.
viewers and listeners all over the planet. Wherever there is internet service, we have viewers, we have listeners, and your time is your most finite commodity. The
Well,
fact that you spend it with us means everything.
like in England, they don't vote, do they? They kind of like whoever is the most popular, the king, blood family gets to be the next king or queen, and they have no experience or
Well, we have kind of they have, taken away a lot of the powers of the royal family, and they do have a vote, they do have a say, but the some of the stuff that they vote in, I mean, they have gone from England at one point, way before we had a Revolutionary War, that was started because their troops came to take our ammo, right?
Mhm.
And our guns at Lexington and Concord. Way back in like the 14 somethings, they had a war about firearms ownership. And now they're like seriously talking about knives, even in your home that you use to carve your turkey with and stuff. They should not be pointy.
So you'll buy
They should
pre-cut
be
food.
dulled down, possibly. I mean, it's
That's
just
next.
that ridiculous, some of the stuff, because they don't know their history and they don't have a common and shared set of values. Um, a lot of that has changed because they have, flooded their borders just the way that the last administration here has flooded our borders. And when you have people that come in and they don't share that common history, that common values, and want to assimilate into that, that's when you get
Right.
a whole bunch of confusion going on out there and culture and public policy. But anyway,
We could go on.
we could go on, and
That it's not the tool.
it's not the tool, people. It really isn't. But if you want to share, getting back on track here, if you want to share this video or rewatch this video, go to YouTube, Gunstreamer, Opslin smartphone app, anywhere that videos are shared, Rumble, and click the subscribe button. Click the notifications button. Not only does that give you our content at light speed when the next episode comes out, but also it will give us a hedge against cancel culture. It'll tell those platforms that you value this information. And if you want to go and listen to the audio only version, then go to our website, gunfreedomradio.com, click the on demand tab, and
Binge listen to your heart's content. There are so many people that we've interviewed and so much valuable information out there, and it's all right on your computer.
on the guest tab. So you can click and look up Ocean Rasso and find all of his links. All the guests we've ever had on is an ever growing database of subject matter experts. And when you spend time there, we don't hate that. All right, we want to thank some of the organizations that support the work that we do. PatriotMobile.com. That's about your cell phone, right? PatriotMobile.com/GFR will get you 1 free month of service. They will pay off your previous contract that you've been shelling out money to these other mobile companies these other cell companies that do not share your values, that actively work against your individual liberties. PatriotMobile.com supports every value that a freedom-loving person supports. You will get the same tower usage, the same level of service, and what we found is that it's actually even cheaper to go that way.
And it's easy to switch to.
And it's easy to switch. PatriotMobile.com/GFR. PatriotHousehold.com/GFR is an invitation only network for shopping, for getting all those things that you normally buy at those big box stores, right? Your dish soap, your laundry soap, your shampoo, all of these things that you use to run your household and keep yourself looking and smelling great. So, again, you go to these big box stores, you hand over them gobs of money, you get products that aren't made in America, that are not supporting American jobs on American soil. Or you can go to patriothousehold.com/GFR. You set your order online and forget it. It shows up on your front doorstep. Great quality products, excellent service. We have been happy with every single thing we've ever bought on there. And we want to invite you to join us in that journey. And we get a small piece of every dollar you spend to help fuel the work we do.
And you got to remind them there's steaks too. Good meat products.
Oh,
very good.
Gosh, Riverbend Ranch is their meat company, and it's amazing. We have great friends who have produced this awesome product, LockedInGrip.com. It is a liquid shooting sports chalk for better, safer, faster shooting because your grip is safer and stronger, especially as it's heating up out there and summer is upon us. And finally, if you are ever involved in any kind of a self-defense encounter, which we all pray we never will be, you will encounter the legal system. It's not like the movies where the good guy does the right thing, the police show up, they immediately identify who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, and good guy goes on home walking into the sunset with their firearm back on their hip. That is not how that works. The police will show up, they will process you just like they do the bad guy, and it'll all get sorted out later. But in the meantime, you will need an attorney on retainer. So, full disclosure, our family uses the services of attorneysonretainer.com. You can check it out if you go to our website, GunFreedomRadio.com, homepage, scroll down, click on Attorneys on Retainer. It is so affordable. As a matter of fact, you can't afford to not have an attorney on retainer if you are a self-defense minded person, no matter what tool you might have to use in that awful eventuality that could visit upon your life. All right, until next time, we are going to
pray for our nation.
What else are we going to do?
Pray for our leaders.
Right? What about the ones we're a little bit frustrated with?
Yeah, I probably need to do that too.
Especially those ones that frustrate us, right? Get them prayed back to the Constitution that they put their hand on, they put their oath on to protect and preserve. And until next time, be good to each other, have a great week, and God bless.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.